Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Saviour, me?
So, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Excommunicated Podcast. I'm Jess,
I'm Tom,
and if you're listening to this, it means you're in 2023.
which is incredible, isn't it?
Very weird.
Yeah, another year
Yeah.
gone by.
Very, very weird to me, because obviously we're recording this and it's not the new year yet.
Yeah, sure.
But when you guys will be listening to this, it's January.
And the crazy thing, is the fact that it's Sunday and it's the first of the month as well. So, that feels pretty good too, isn't it, really? Starting the year the right way.
With an episode.
Yeah.
It's very aesthetically pleasing for me.
I think so. Yeah, most definitely.
That we're starting the year with an episode. And it's also very fitting for what we're going to talk about.
I think so.
But we'll get there.
Yeah, sure.
So Arthur unfortunately can't be with us today. He is actually in the city.
Yes.
He's physically here. He was here for Christmas, and then over Christmas, we all got violently ill.
In fact, all of us, didn't we?
Oh
Yeah.
my God, we were so ill, all of us. I don't know what it was, some weird flu-like thing.
It was bizarre, wasn't it, really? We all felt sick and yet not sick, and we were all really tired, and yeah, it was a funny old virus, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think anyone who's in the UK can kind of relate to this right now, because I feel like from the start of December all the way through, there has been so much illness.
Yeah, I think so.
So much illness. So yeah, we all felt really rough, and then a couple of days ago we were due to record with Arthur.
Uh-huh.
He literally felt like he'd been hit by a truck. He was so ill, staying in bed all day, just couldn't make it.
Sure.
So although he's back, we're gonna have to wait until next week to kind of do like a bulk recording thing with him.
Yeah.
So he's resting up. We love you, Arthur, and we miss you.
Yeah, take it easy, mate.
But he will be with us for the rest of this series.
Yeah.
Thankfully. So yeah, we hope everyone had a great Christmas, holidays, winter solstice, whatever you celebrated.
Yeah, it's difficult times, as we talked about before, with
Yeah.
people meeting with family and having to go to church services and nativity plays and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And we hope you did get through all of that.
Mhm.
But it's a new year. It's a new start. And I think that's quite exciting. Again, especially starting the year with the Excommunicated Podcast. But yeah, it is a new start and new ideas and new fresh ideas. So again, share some of those on our Facebook post maybe. But what about yourself, Jess? Have you got any new ideas for this year ahead?
I don't want to go too deep into what the ideas are, but I
Yeah.
think we were talking about this earlier, and our main theme for 2023 is change.
Sure.
And not being afraid of change.
Yeah.
And I think we're ready for a lot of things to change.
I think so.
We're ready for this to be a year where everything changes, really.
Yeah.
Business, personal,
Sure.
finance, podcast,
Yeah.
everything.
I think you're right. It is certainly the year of the change ahead of
Mhm.
us. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm really ready. And I think, yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah. But we just wanted to say, above all, I hope that you were respected
Yeah.
in the holidays and the new year and seeing family. Like Tom said, it can be really difficult. And it obviously wasn't perfect for all of you out there. I just hope that you were able to be respected.
Sure. Yeah, that's good.
And we also thank you for listening to all of the episodes in 2022.
Sure.
It's been a really big year for the podcast.
Yeah.
And
It really has, and we've got some really exciting stuff coming up this next year. Very, very exciting. In fact, starting off with the next few episodes is
yeah.
wow. Yeah, basically, isn't it?
It is wow, actually. It is wow. It's something we've been excited to talk about for a while. So we're starting a little mini-series, like Tom did about the Plymouth Brethren.
Sure.
Did like an 8-9 week series on it, which he found so helpful. We're now starting a little mini-series about our experience planting a church.
Sure.
Which, wow.
Yeah, wow. And I think it's information that needs to get out there, but also is information to clear from our own minds again.
It's cathartic.
I think it's going to be very therapeutic for ourselves to actually be able to talk about this. And again, others, you might be out there who've gone through similar experiences and be able to relate as well, which is at the end of the day what we want to do as well, is to again build this community of help for each other.
Yeah, exactly. And we just want to talk about what we went through.
Yeah, sure.
And you may find it interesting.
Yeah.
I know I did a poll a couple of months ago about things that people were looking forward to hearing about.
Uh-huh.
And the church plant did win.
Yes.
So obviously it's something that people are interested in. And yeah, we're excited / nervous to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm nervous.
yeah, we've done a lot of planning for this, and going through the plans, it was quite scary in a sense. Number one, the amount of information we've got. Initially,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, we could do that probably in a couple of episodes. Now it's like, oh my goodness, we got so much we need to talk about here. But it's also scary to think that actually went on, and you're going to have to wait. But the amount of stuff that went on, it's just like, are you serious that actually happened within a church? I mean, it's scary. It really is scary.
Yeah. So we're going to try not to overload you guys.
Yeah.
We're going to do it in as few episodes as possible, but also to tell the story properly.
Sure. Yeah, certainly.
So today is just going to be a little introduction.
Yeah.
So we're going to explain what a church plant is for some context, how we got involved with one,
Yeah.
and who everyone is. So we're going to introduce the characters that we'll be talking about, the people that were involved, and then go on from there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
This is just kind of an information episode and introducing the series as a whole.
And how long do you think it's going to go on for, Jess, do you think?
I wouldn't hazard a guess. As long as it is. Like I said, we're not going to drag it out.
No.
We're going to try and wrap it up, but it just depends on how deep we go, because it could be 100 episodes, it could be 2 episodes.
Sure. We always listen to Crime Weekly on as a podcast, and sometimes they say, I think this might go on now for two or 3 episodes, and like 6 episodes in, it's like, no, this might last another 2 episodes, I think,
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens, really, and how well it's received. If you guys like it, then let us know, and we'll continue, and we'll put more detail in.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, it's no point us just talking if you're not enjoying it. So yeah, let us know, please.
And if you have any questions, we'll add those on at the end.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
as
of course.
well. So, introduction. What is a church plant? For people that don't know, have never heard of it, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Church planting is a term referring to the process that results in a new Christian congregation being established.
Okay.
There's a few different ways that this can happen as well. There's quite a few different ways, but the main 2, the most common ones for context, are a group of people or a quote-unquote mission group form from an existing church and are sent to create an entirely new church from the ground up.
Yeah.
So literally building, congregation, set up, everything.
Sure.
Usually in a brand new housing area, brand new estate, that sort of thing. The second way is a group is sent to take over an established church that's deemed to be like failing or kind of dwindling, out of touch, that sort of thing, or even an abandoned church.
Yeah.
But in an already existing area.
Yeah.
So you can either send a group to a brand new place, set it from scratch, or you can send a group to one that you deem is failing.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, when I was talking about the Plymouth Brethren and my parents' church, they were a church plant. They went into a new housing estate and created this new Brethren church a long time ago. But, they were a church plant in a sense because it was a new estate with no churches.
Exactly. And it's an evangelical practice.
Yeah.
All denominations do it. All churches do it. Like you say, even the Brethren did it.
Yeah, sure.
New churches do it. Old churches do it. It's a form of just sort of like branching out.
Yeah, sure.
I guess.
Yeah.
But we were in the second group. So we weren't creating a new church from scratch. We were essentially revamping an old church and taking over someone else's job.
Sure.
And we truly believed this was like a mission.
Yeah, I mean,
a calling.
Yeah, we were almost told that this church was failing big time. I mean, we were painted this picture of this church in the most prominent position in the area, and yet it was a failing church, and the minister there was failing, and he was a terrible person.
He was rubbish at his job.
He was rubbish and lazy and everything else. Yeah, and we were, painted this picture of, oh my goodness, we really need to get in there and bring God to the area. It was ridiculous. The lies, actually, we were told, even straight on, right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So both of these types of projects are funded by like the governing body of whichever denomination you're in. And so there's like a council in each type of flavor of Christianity. There's like, I don't know the names of all the councils, but
yeah, even as I said, even the Brethren had their own, in a sense, council. The group where they got together and could govern what was happening in other Brethren churches in a funny sort of way.
yeah,
Even though they were independent, but there's Church of England and then Catholics and then Pentecostals and Baptists. They all have their, authority, don't they, which they relate to.
yeah, like in Star Wars, the council,
Exactly,
with like Yoda
yeah.
and they're in the floating chairs.
Exactly the same.
You've got to go ask them for permission for things. It is exactly like that, except these people have beyond millions of pounds.
Yeah.
Beyond millions and millions. I wouldn't know if it's billions. Would you say it's billions?
Didn't we look that up? And it was, in a year, they earned over $1 billion.
It's something
Yeah.
outrageous. And so these councils of high up people in Christianity have all this money and they decide where to put it.
Yeah,
and a lot
sure.
of the times they will fund it into church plans.
Yeah.
And they will pay millions for these projects. They take groups, you move into this area and you effectively claim it for God.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Part of me, the cynical part of me thinks, do they do it for money? Do they go into a new housing estate where they haven't got any congregation to actually go in there and get more money off the congregation? Because they're new people, new converts, more money.
Yes.
Yeah, part of me thinks that. That's a very cynical part of me, but...
Essentially, they do.
Yes.
So, all of this to a degree sounds great. I know you're cynical about the money, and I know that there is ulterior motives, but
Sure.
from the outside looking in, these projects sound noble and worthy.
Yeah, certainly.
You're helping these people. That's what you'd say.
Yes, definitely. You're going into the community to bring help and support, and to bring the love of God, and all the positive things, most definitely.
On paper, it sounds like a noble project.
Yeah, certainly.
But I think the problem begins with like how these people in these areas are viewed and talked about.
Sure.
Just from what I observed, I think, you're essentially invading this area.
It is.
So you're looking at an area on a map and you're saying, that place needs us. That place needs God. That place isn't doing well.
And you pull up all sorts of information from Google, and you find out how many people are working, how many people are unemployed, how many people have houses, how many people, all sorts of information. You get all of these statistics, and then from that you work out almost like your battle plan. So when you say invasion, it truly is an invasion.
And I think we'll get more into like the attitude of some of the planters throughout the series, obviously, as we talk. But we've discussed before, even with your parents' church, Tom, that they felt a sense of like superiority.
Most definitely.
Over the people from the estate. They had their wealth and their status, and they believed that because of that, they were better than the people that they were evangelizing to.
Yes, most definitely.
And I think a lot of Christian missionaries can look down on the people that they're sent to preach to.
Yeah.
Maybe subconsciously, but there's definitely like a superiority thing going on.
Yes.
Even in the action itself of like moving into a new place.
Yes.
And prejudging that it's like lacking.
Yes. Yes.
And
definitely.
it needs you. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it certainly is. They thought they were better. They were coming to this to plant this church because the people needed it, and because we were better than anyone else. Yeah, it was dreadful.
And we'll get more into the ethics
Yes.
of it later. But there are already red flags
Yes.
for me, and regrets for me as well about what we were involved in.
Yeah.
But before we even get started with the stories and drama and craziness, we wanted to explain the prequel, the process of getting involved, and introduce the characters that we'll be talking about as well. So, how did we get involved with this project? How did we, Tom and Jess, even end up in a project like this?
Yeah, sure.
How does one end up in a church plant?
Yes.
Well, we'd been attending like a small village church for about 18 months.
Yeah, I would say so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Less than 2 years. And we were comfortable there.
Mhm.
We were regular there, but there wasn't a lot to do. It was kind
No.
of boring.
Yes, that's right.
There was nothing going on for like anyone over the age of 10 and under the age of 70.
Yes, I would think so.
I feel like there was kids work and
Yeah.
there was hymns for the old people, but
but
there was
nothing else.
there was nothing really going on. It
Sure.
was like we were going out of habit, but we were not happy there.
Yeah.
It was a small English village church.
Yeah, it was fine.
At the end of the day, it was fine.
It was comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the church had like a trainee pastor.
Hmm.
Would you call it a trainee pastor? I don't know what the term is.
Yeah, certainly. Let's call him a trainee pastor.
A lay pastor,
Yes,
is
that's
that
right.
what they're called? But he was learning under the head honcho.
Yes.
He was training to become a pastor, and he was around our age, and we started talking to him after the services.
Sure. And he seemed great, and he had a wife, and his wife was great,
Mhm.
and everything seemed to twig. Actually, it was really good.
And he invited us to his house.
Yeah.
For the famous barbecue.
Ah, yes.
Now, at this point, we had no friends.
Yes.
Like, we were kind of in that cycle again where
Mhm.
we felt very, very low.
Yeah.
We'd moved to the city to be closer to Tom's family, and we just
Yeah.
hadn't met anyone new.
Sure.
We weren't clicking anywhere.
No, and church is normally a place where you meet friends, so that's what we did. We continued to go to church, and, meeting this guy and his wife, it was like, yeah, this seems to work. These could be our friends. This seems great.
So we agreed. We went to his house.
Yeah.
We had the barbecue.
Mm.
We met his wife and his children
Sure.
and genuinely had a lovely time.
Yeah, certainly.
Little did we know at the time, this was actually an interview.
Yeah, most definitely.
We didn't know it, but they'd chosen us to come on this church plant with them.
Yeah.
Which, when you look back at it, but before being invited to this barbecue, we'd had no conversations with them.
Sure.
And so they had been watching us, obviously, for months.
Yes.
With the thought in mind that we were going to come work for them,
Yeah, certainly.
essentially. And they
Yeah.
were figuring out a way to ask us,
Yeah.
which is kind of creepy. But anyway, they'd chosen us, and they wanted to see if we were kind of like cool people. I mean, they even admitted it later. They were sort of vetting us.
Yes.
So the barbecue was just us. It
Yeah.
wasn't like a group thing.
Sure.
And at the barbecue, they drank a lot.
Yeah.
They swore.
Yeah.
They played their type of music.
Yeah.
And they would ask us really like hot topics.
Yeah, certainly.
So I think the idea of like homosexuality came up,
Yeah.
abortion came up,
Uh-huh.
things that like a lot of Christians would have big opinions on.
Yes, of course.
And I think if we'd acted sort of like judgmental
Mhm.
or reacted badly or been prudes that didn't want to drink,
Yes.
I think the whole thing would have gone very differently.
Yeah, certainly. It would have ended there, really, I suppose.
Yeah,
most
exactly.
definitely.
But we didn't know we were being tested in any way.
Uh-huh.
And so for us, it seemed like we were making new, laid-back Christian friends.
Yeah, sure.
They seemed very different than kind of the stuffy people from the village church.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Like Tom's teenage idea of like a Christian, non-Christian girlfriend,
Yeah.
these were like Christian, non-Christian friends.
Yes, definitely.
If that makes sense. They were Christian and for God, but
They seem more normal.
exactly.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, they seemed more relaxed than the
Yes.
rest of the church,
Yeah, sure.
which was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And so we were immediately drawn in.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Easy to persuade, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we were in a vulnerable position,
Yeah.
maybe. So, but yeah, I mean, as we keep on saying, we've got many regrets.
Mhm.
But
This is one of them.
yes, this was one of them. Really, this barbecue really was the start of it all. Really.
Yeah. And then after the barbecue, it really wasn't very long before we were spending every second together.
Mm.
We were quite bonded, and it was one of those friendships that clicks like unreasonably fast.
Yeah, sure.
If anyone else can relate to that, it's like you're immediately bonded. You're immediately spending every evening together. You're telling each other everything.
Yeah.
You feel like, for us at the time, like God was putting us together.
Yeah. And we spent socially. It wasn't just church things. Socially, we'd spend time with each other. We'd go out together. We would, do things as friends would do. It wasn't just a whole church thing. It was a real friendship, we thought at the time.
Yeah. And so when they asked us to join this church plant and told us about their ideas and told us this was all an interview process,
Yeah.
wrongly, we were flattered.
Yes.
At the time we were like, oh, wow, they deem us
Worthy
of joining them. But really, it's kind of creepy to think that the whole time we just thought we were making friends. They
Sure.
were like scouting for workers.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, certainly.
And they had this group of about 10 people in mind, and we knew most of them.
Yeah.
And so I would say we agreed almost immediately. I don't remember. I'll have to ask you, Tom. Did we say we'd think about it and come back the next day, or did we immediately say yes?
We immediately said yes.
That day?
Yeah, and we were quite spiritual, if I can say that, at the time. It wasn't like a case of, well, we'll go away and we'll pray about this together and then we'll come back and let you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I'm pretty sure, immediately we said, yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
I can work with you. I like where you're coming from. No, this would be fantastic.
And we'd met like 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
It was so fucking fast.
Yes, it was so quick.
So
quick.
fast. But I think we were really keen to be a part of something.
Yeah.
We wanted to feel included.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're like project-y idea people anyway. We like
Yes.
starting things.
That's right.
We like being part of a team, a project.
Yeah.
And so it felt perfect.
Yeah, it really did do everything we needed, actually.
Yeah, and we just wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
Now, this is all sounding stupid and a bit silly because it makes us sound like mindless.
Mm,
It makes us sound a bit, I don't know, easily led.
sure.
And I don't think we're gullible people. I think we were just swept up in the group and the idea of starting something all together.
Yeah, and
I think
also,
we needed a group.
Yeah, we needed a group, but also we desperately wanted to work for church and for God.
Desperately.
So, when you have an opportunity to work for God, it's like, this is fantastic. This is my role in life. This is what I need to be doing.
It was like it was meant to be.
Yeah, most definitely. We were, God has brought us together,
Mm-hmm.
and God has got this new project, and yeah, we're going to be working for God, not for this guy necessarily. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, certainly, it was very exciting, and I don't think gullible at all. It was just we were, we
were ready.
We were ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were ready.
And I think if anyone can relate to the kind of like unreasonably fast clicking relationships, it really was one of those.
Yeah,
like
certainly.
Some people you're friends with for 6 months before it feels like that. Some people you meet
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my God, these are our friends.
Yes.
And everything just clicks. And that's what it felt like at the time.
Yes.
So we should introduce the people that we're going to be talking about. And obviously to protect them, because we're not going to be using their real names.
Of course not.
We're going to be giving them names.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, we've agreed to be on the podcast and put ourselves out there, but obviously none of these people have.
Exactly.
So this is how we'll be referring to them. So just for you guys to get an idea of the story.
Yeah.
The junior pastor and his wife that we've been mentioning were our friends. They're David and Sarah.
Yeah.
And they had 2 kids, Emma and Zach.
Yes.
There was another couple that had been brought onto the project from the village church, and they're called Laura and Jim, and they had 2 kids of their own as well. Things get a little bit tricky with Laura and Jim because Laura was the daughter of the pastor from the old church.
Sure.
Who David was learning under.
Yes, that's right.
So there was a lot of animosity when Laura and Jim decided to join the project because I think her dad was a bit like, you're leaving my church?
Yes.
Things get tricky, and we'll go into that
certainly
more later. It will all make sense.
Yeah.
So the pastor from the old church, Laura's father, is called Giles. And we're calling him Giles because he was very much like Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
He's a very good bloke. I actually did like him, and I still like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very good bloke, very sound.
Yeah. And then we have another couple who joined the project, and they actually moved to the old church because they had heard about the plant. They're called Heather and Fred. And Fred worked for the church council.
Yes.
So the council that we talked about earlier, who are funding the plants and funding the project, he was working for them. heard about the project and decided to move himself and his wife to the area.
Yeah, they
to be a
actually,
part of it.
Yeah, actually moved their house as well. Moved physically their house into the area so they could be part of the plant, which is incredible, really.
Intense.
Yes.
It's starting to get intense already.
Yeah,
but
certainly.
we carry on. So later on, we'll also introduce you to the worship leader.
Uh-huh.
And she's called Sophie, but she isn't in the story just yet.
She was employed by them as well.
Yeah, we'll get back to Sophie.
Yeah, certainly.
And the pastor in the church that we were taking over, that we were invading,
Yes.
Pastor Ted.
Yes.
That's what we're going with. And our final team members, we had 2 women as well, and they were called Jane and Rachel, and they joined the team. And Jane was a single woman who wanted to work for the church in the future.
Sure.
So sort of work under David.
Yes.
So she was becoming like the junior pastor
Again, yes.
under
that's right.
him.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. And then we have Rachel, and she was our accountant.
Yay!
And we're going to do so much explanation on the finances of this church
Oh my
plant.
goodness, yeah, certainly.
Things get messy in a future
Yes.
episode. So, we're all together.
Yeah.
This is great. We spend an entire summer together planning.
Mm-hmm. And each one of us is almost given a role within the team as well.
So David had spent some time praying, I believe,
Yeah.
and he had this big whiteboard in his office, and under each of our names, he'd been given a message from God
Sure.
about what we could bring to the team.
Yes.
Intense, right?
Yeah, very.
So, myself, Tom, David, Sarah, Laura, Jim, Jane, Heather, Fred and Rachel all embarked on this weird kind of purgatory limbo state where
Sure.
we're in the village church, we're still attending it, but the congregation know that we're leaving at the end of this year for this big mission.
Yes, that's right.
Like, we're going into space
It
or
was
something.
almost, yeah, it certainly was.
It was very strange. But the summer, genuinely looking back on it, I can see why we were so swept up. Because this was a summer full of barbecues, coffee, prayer meetings, worship sessions together, drinking wine, all around this like big whiteboard,
Yes.
praying, talking to God, believing we're hearing from God.
Yeah.
And we're just all bonding together.
Yeah, I was just about to say bonding. I mean, it became a real, strong group because we're spending so much time with each other.
Yeah, and we believe this is like an ordained pairing.
Yes.
Genuinely.
This is it. Yeah, certainly that God was with us and God was going to push us out into this area and was going to do amazing things through us. And it was exciting to think, wow, God's using us, This is amazing.
Yeah, very exciting, very intense as well. So it was a bonding time for all of us as a team, but mainly the 4 of us.
Yes.
So myself, Tom, David, and Sarah.
Yes, that's right.
We spent nearly every evening together. We became like a family.
Yes.
Like we were like zipped together.
Yes, we were. Yeah.
They even ended up asking us to be like the unofficial godparents to their 2 children because they believed we'd all been brought together by God.
Yes.
And it felt like a spiritual friendship, but not in a religious God way, if I can explain myself. So it felt like deep soulmate friends.
Yes, that's right.
And I remember thinking like at the end of that summer, okay, this is the group. This is the group of people I'm going to know all my life.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, certainly.
It got intense.
Yeah, very.
It got creepy.
Yes.
But yeah, I just remember thinking like, okay, this is it. This is the group. When we're all together, there's barbecues, there's 10 of us, there's couples, this is family, this is real.
Yes.
It felt perfect.
Yes.
At first. Dun dun dun. So as part of like the setup and the planning, obviously we're all working hard.
Sure.
Lots of evenings, that sort of thing. But we were also required to attend a planting course.
Yay.
Which was, I think, 9 weeks long, 8 or 9 weeks.
Yes, I think so.
Something like that. But these were day-long sessions.
Yeah.
This wasn't like an hour.
No.
This was like 9 till 5.
And it wasn't a weekend. This was in a weekday. So it meant to say that you had to take time off work to attend these sessions.
And attendance was not voluntary.
No.
Attendance was mandatory.
It was. So it was almost like, if you're serious about doing this church build or church plant, if you're serious about this and God has obviously got it on your heart, then you need to be giving up work, taking it as holiday or working some other time.
And so we did.
Yeah, we did. Most definitely.
We would go to this planting course every single week for at least 2 months. It was at least 8 weeks. And this would teach us, in theory, how to be the perfect missionaries.
Yes.
How to reach the people in these communities.
Yes, of course.
So we were all required, everyone on the team was required to attend. Bear in mind, none of us were getting paid.
Yes.
So the pastor was getting paid.
Yeah.
He was the only one. Everyone else on the team was completely volunteering their time, which we wanted to do at the time.
Yeah, we did. We were happy to do so.
Important to
Yes.
us. It felt so important. But it started to become nearly a full-time job.
Yeah, I mean, and it meant to say that we would have to catch up with our own work. So we'd be working Saturdays as well then to catch up on the work we've missed because of the church plant.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd be working on the Sunday as well.
For church. Yeah, so we had church on the weekends. We had church all day during one day during the week.
Yes.
Then we had in the evenings prayer meetings,
Yeah.
worship sessions together, planning meetings.
Yes.
This church became like a second job.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely.
Which proves how dedicated we were for this. We truly believed at the time
Yes.
that this was for God.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
And as you can imagine, we were all in each other's pockets all the time. I mean, we were seeing each other for like 25 hours a week.
Yes. And not just that, we would go to, let's say there was a meeting, a prayer meeting of an evening, and then afterwards, we would go back then to David and Sarah's house after the meeting to spend more time with them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a case of, it was an hour this evening or an hour that. We would spend literally the whole evening until midnight then with them before we returned home. It was very intense, wasn't it?
Yeah. And at the time, that felt great. Now looking back, that's not healthy.
No.
And it started to cause issues with the team.
Yes.
Again, we'll get into that more.
Sure.
So the entirety of next week's episode will focus on the training days.
Yeah.
Because a lot starts happening during that process. And it was probably our first indication that things weren't going to go well.
Yeah.
Now looking back on it.
Sure.
Those training days should have made us realise that this was going to be an issue.
Yeah, and red flags almost. And
Red
we should
flags,
should have backed away probably at that point, but we were so excited.
We were all in.
Invested,
Yeah.
so excited and so invested that we continued.
Mm-hmm.
We ignored what we should have been paying attention to. Yeah, certainly.
And I would say the planting course was the first real indication of things that were to come, and a lot of inappropriate things started to happen.
Yeah.
That summer.
Yeah, certainly.
And we'll be able to dive into it fully next episode. Yeah. So just to go back to sort of the ethics of the practice. As a whole, what do you think of getting a group of people together and throwing them into this community, this estate, this new build, whatever, to kind of infiltrate the people?
Yeah. It depends on your attitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And I think if it was a group that went in to literally come alongside and to care and feed
and support
the community, then great. You know, it didn't have to be religious in any way. If they came and did those things, you think fantastic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, church plants don't seem to work that way, do they?
No,
in our experience.
As soon as there's a religious aspect involved, there's kind of this attitude of saving these people, winning them for God.
Yeah.
And a lot of these places have a satanic stronghold, in quotation marks. You know, Satan's in this estate. We need to win it back for God.
Yes, that's right.
And that's so self-righteous, it makes me furious.
Yeah, as soon as you said the word save, we need to save this place. I mean, just putting that word save in just proves the fact that our mindset was that these people were lost, were dying, were
They needed rescuing.
They needed rescuing. And as soon as you say, oh, we've come to save, it's like, yeah, forget that then.
Yeah, you haven't come to serve and support and show love. You've come to conquer.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
you
certainly.
Want this housing estate or this area to be better.
Yes. And we, I don't know if we were going to talk about this later on, but there were reports of people trying to plant a church in this area years before. And they tried, but the stronghold of Satan was so strong down there that they failed, and everything they did went wrong, and it almost destroyed them and all this. So we had these stories of, oh my goodness, Satan is strong there, but we're going to go in strong. And
like it was a battle.
It was a battle again, and God's going to win, and we're going to, that's why we had such a big team to support, because we were going to go in as a big army to break down the strongholds of Satan. And these were the words. These are the scary things.
These are the things that we would sit around a giant whiteboard in David's office, and we would pray, and we would sing, and we would declare these sorts of things that Tom is saying over this magical whiteboard.
Yes.
Like, I remember the whiteboard being such a important thing in like our group chats and our prayer sessions, that we literally thought God was speaking to us through this piece of plastic.
Yeah, certainly.
That he was going to win a community like through us.
Yes.
We felt so important.
Yeah.
I feel stupid even talking about these things. I wish
know.
Arthur was here. He'd be like hitting us with a newspaper.
He would be now, yeah. No. Yeah, certainly. It was just it's just so sad to think that that's, in a sense, so many of the church plants go in with the thought that we are better than those that we're going to serve, in a sense. But being brought up in the Brethren, of course, I knew everything about everything, and I was superior to everyone, which is horrible. But that's what I've come to learn now,
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly that's... And that seemed to be the attitude of David and Sarah as well. It wasn't just myself.
No.
It was other team members as well. They were, no, we are in there to save because we are superior.
We are what they need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did feel like we were being sent.
Yes.
This was being funded by the higher ups in the Christian council, so to speak. But we believed it was being funded by God.
Yes.
Truly.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, ethically, the practice as a whole, even now that I've been in it, I think it sucks.
Yes.
I think it truly sucks. And I think people would be shocked to know what the people running these things are truly like.
Yes, most definitely.
As well.
Yeah.
It's not what you think, unfortunately.
No, it's not an organisation going in to support.
For the right reasons.
No, and to bring love.
No.
You think of some organisations where they will set up a food bank or things just purely to support the people because of love, not because of a church that they do it so that they can get people into their church. But there are people that produce food banks because they love the people, they want to support the people, and that's almost what it should be. But it wasn't. It was a battle.
For some people, it was a battle, and some people, it was a shiny new pot of money.
Yes.
That they could play with.
Yeah.
Essentially.
That's true.
And it for certain people on the project, and there'll be whole episodes dedicated to this, it was an opportunity to buy new toys.
Yes.
And feel really self-righteous doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. Feel very important.
Yeah. Which just sucks.
Yeah, it really
just
does.
So sucks, and we have so many regrets.
Yeah, as always, when we look back at these things, and you look at time spent, and you think the time spent doing this, how much better it would have been if they'd spent that time thinking about actual people or helping actual people rather than planning all of this, if they'd spent the time.
Yeah.
And likewise, the money they spent, how much better it would have been if they had just spent that money on the actual people within the community.
Rather than the things.
Rather than things. And again, we'll talk about this later, but you just think all of this.
Millions, by the way.
Yeah.
There was several million
yes.
pounds sunk into this.
Yes, into a pot. And, it just reminds me of a church I heard that spent months arguing about homosexuality in the church. And they argued, and they had meetings, and they had special events and all sorts of things. They spent so much time and so much money, and people got so angry and so distraught about the subject of homosexuality in the church. And I remember us saying, how would it have been so much better if they just spent all of that time on caring for the poor in their community? What a waste of time. What an absolute waste. Or shouting about wearing hats in church, what a waste. What, the priorities, they're so wrong.
Yeah. The things that people sink all the time into.
Yeah, deem as important.
Yeah.
And it's just such a waste. And this church plant being exactly the same, the thousands spent, the hours spent, and what an absolute waste. And not just because I'm now an atheist and it's an absolute waste of time. And it's not that aspect. I mean, obviously there's that as well.
Yeah.
What a waste, because, what's the point? There isn't even a God. But not that, even if there was a God, the waste and
it's
the
still
time
being done badly.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And I can't think of many church plants where it's been done properly, to be fair.
No, I mean, the success rate is incredibly low, but even to the point that they entrusted this massive undertaking and massive million pounds budget
Yes.
to a pastor who was still training.
Yes.
He was not officially ordained yet.
No.
He wasn't even ready.
No.
And that sparks a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
And drama and inappropriate behavior, because he wasn't even officially a pastor yet. He was still training,
Yeah, and so much so that they had to try to give him another name.
Mm-hmm.
So in leadership, whereas some people would say, well, you're a pastor or you're a vicar or you're an elder or whatever. They had to invent a name for him, didn't they? A form of leadership, because
to make it like work on the paperwork.
Yeah, basically, so that if anyone did question it, it's like, oh no, he hasn't finished his training, but we can still call him pastor. I can't even remember what they called him now, but we can still call him a pastor, even though he's not officially finished his training yet.
And so I think this project that we were involved in was not fully developed properly, and I think we just threw our hundreds and hundreds of hours over one summer on this.
Yes.
We barely had time for anything else. We were just giving ourselves over to this project.
Yes.
And so that's a little bit of a background on how we even got involved in this church plant, how we got swept up into it.
Yeah, and I do just want to reiterate the fact that it wasn't just them. I think it was the fact that we were doing this for God, and we were, at this point still pretty on fire for God, and wanted to be used by him, and wanted to be to do whatever we could for God. And so the two came together, and it was like, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. I can now finally have good friends, but also be working for God as well.
Yeah.
This is great. What a partnership.
And just the feeling of being involved in something that was way bigger than you.
Yes.
But you had so many people on the team as well.
Yeah.
I mean, working for ourselves all these years, we're so used to it just being the two of us. The two of us on everything. But being like a group of 10, and you're all meeting and sharing ideas and supporting each other and loving each other.
Sure.
I mean, this is how cults start.
Yeah, most definitely.
You all kind of hole up together
Yeah.
and give each other your time and pray together and dedicate yourselves to a higher cause, and you just get so swept up.
And as I said, we were, literally at one point thinking, oh, we could maybe move into a house with each other. So cult-wise, yes, it really could have happened, couldn't it? So the team was together. We were all together, working together, praying together, worshipping together. Everyone was really getting excited for the start, for the start day. We had trained together. On the outside, it looked like an impenetrable team ready to fight that battle that we were talking about. But it was already, being on the inside, you could already see that there were cracks and there were problems.
But you ignored them.
Yeah, because you thought, well, maybe it's just me, or we've got to be unified in this. We've got to stick together.
We'll make it work.
Yeah. I know that that person said that, and I'm not sure I like that very much. And I know this person here is a bit fussy talking about this, but I'll ignore that because David's saying to ignore it. And so there was already problems. And I know next week we're going to start talking about that, talking about the training, talking about employment.
Mm-hmm.
And David started to show his true colors at that point. And yet, again, we ignored it.
It's like the honeymoon stage of a relationship where you almost think the person can do no wrong.
Yes.
Even though they start to show things that worry you, it's still so new that you think you'll be able to work past it. It's like the honeymoon stage where you feel like nothing's wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And our other problem was the fact that we were living, in the pockets of David and Sarah. And so cracks were showing, but we were with David and Sarah all the time. And so, in a sense, as long as David and Sarah were fine, we were almost ignoring the cracks which were happening around us. And we will be talking a lot about that next week and over the future weeks. But things were falling apart almost immediately, weren't they?
Yeah, before we officially launched.
Yes, yeah, most definitely. So next week we'll start talking about those things. So this week is just a brief intro into how the church started and what the church plant was, but it's going to get pretty meaty. Don't give up on us. There's a lot that starts to happen, and a lot of very disconcerting behavior from many people. Not necessarily the people, but many people's concerns about David and Sarah, really, I would say.
And like we said, this is obviously going to be a very cathartic process for us to be able to tell these stories and the things that we went through and happened to us and things that we did even.
Yeah, certainly.
So we hope you're looking forward to this series and we hope you're excited to hear about it. Please let us know if you do have any questions. Sure. About the process or about anything really we'd like to answer.
And if you've been involved in a church plant yourself.
Yes.
I mean, that would be great to hear. I mean, to compare almost, to see, does this happen everywhere? Does one person just take over and everyone just follow, blindly, in a sense?
So strap in for next week. It's going to be pretty wild.
Yes, I think so.
And we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We hope that we explained it properly and it all made sense. Don't forget you can email us excompod@gmail.com. You can message us on Instagram or you can join our private Facebook group.
Sure.
And we will catch you with Arthur.
Yes.
Next week from 10 a.m. to reclaim our Sundays. So, bye.
Bye.
It's back to you doing it again.
Oh. Yeah, Arthur.